Today we're going to discuss the principles of sowing and reaping, how what you focus on, invest in, and put your attention on grows in your life. We can find this principle easily in Galatians chapter 6 and verse 7. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. The biblical principle of sowing and reaping is really close to the same common sense principle of cause and effect. Even other religions in the world recognize this obvious principle. The idea of karma recognizes this idea, even though it also tacks on extra thoughts and principles like serial reincarnation. But the biblical principle of sowing and reaping is so much more than just simplistic cause and effect. Today we're going to cover 3 fundamental principles that the Bible teaches us about sowing and reaping that can change your life. The first principle is this: what you sow directly determines what it is you're going to reap. In Galatians 6, it spells this out clearly that if we sow to the flesh, we reap fruit in the flesh. Inherently, this fleshly fruit is perishable. The Bible uses the word corruptible. It means that it doesn't last forever. For example, if you spend all of your time, effort, and attention sowing seeds for a successful career, financial abundance and wealth, a healthy body, all of those things aren't bad, but the Bible spells out clearly that these are fruits. These are results that are perishable. They will not last forever. Eventually, that career success, wealth, and healthy body aren't going to be around anymore. In contrast, when we sow to the Spirit, we reap spiritual fruit. Spiritual fruit is the fruit of eternal life. You're literally sowing seed to grow the fruit of the Spirit. And when we work toward being more patient, kind, generous, all of the fruits of the Spirit that are shown in the Bible, that is fruit that doesn't go away. Ultimately, these are expressions of growing in godly character. And character is ultimately the only thing that we take with us after this life. The second principle that we're going to cover today is that what we sow, we get more of. The biblical principle of sowing and reaping is really all about energy. In the quantum physics perspective, everything is just energy and vibration. When you sow certain actions, thoughts, intentions into the world, those vibrations are attracting similar ones. So sowing something positive and uplifting will automatically attract similar things into your life. In contrast, sowing negative thoughts, actions, words will inherently bring more of that type of energy, that type of experience into your life. Now, this isn't the law of attraction that some of your alarm bells might be going off about right now. This literally is the fundamental principle from the Bible of sowing and reaping. If you sow something, you get the same thing back, only more of it. From a psychological point of view, what you focus on, you attract more of. This is just a different way of expressing the same principle. Your beliefs, what you expect out of life, shapes the reality that you experience. Ultimately, if you have positive, uplifting beliefs about your identity and how the world works, more of your experience is going to be focused on those things. You're going to experience a more positive journey through life. This even goes as far as affecting your brain waves and the vibrations of thought that go on in your head. The more positive or the more negative you are is a feedback loop in how your brain filters and functions in reality. Below the thinking level of what we're conscious of, the subconscious is like fertile soil. Whatever thoughts and beliefs we plant there will ultimately grow into the type of reality that we experience. What you plant in your subconscious will eventually sprout and show up in your life as a harvest, for better or for worse. All of this ultimately means that we need to be mindful, careful, and conscious of the seeds that we plant in our lives. If you hate artichokes, but you plant a field full of artichoke seeds, don't be disappointed if that's all you have come harvest time. The third principle to cover about sowing and reaping is the function of time. Sowing and reaping are always separated by a period of time. Looking right to agriculture as the perfect physical example, on one extreme you have microgreens, lettuce, spinach, or other greens that are planted and ready to harvest in as little as 2 weeks' time. Inherently, these are quick, one-time harvest plants. In contrast to that, a walnut tree can take up to 20 years to fully mature and bear a full crop. However, by the time it hits that 20-year maturity mark, a walnut tree is capable of yielding 200 to 350 pounds of nuts every year for decades. Do you start to see the principle? The length of time between sowing and reaping can very strongly affect how much and the quality of what you're getting in your harvest. Expectations here are key. No farmer plants a walnut tree and starts looking for walnuts 2 weeks later. A perfect story that illustrates this principle is actually about famous actor Harrison Ford. Ford was a very unsuccessful actor for years in Hollywood. He was actually paying the bills by being a set carpenter in Hollywood, but he understood the principles of sowing and reaping. He didn't expect to harvest overnight. Working as a carpenter, he kept taking small roles in movies, knowing that that would eventually one day pay off. Ford was working as a set carpenter on the set of American Graffiti, where he met George Lucas. That chance meeting and a small role in American Graffiti led to him ultimately being cast as Han Solo in Star Wars. Now, almost everyone in the world would recognize Harrison Ford. Ford's story goes to show that when you continually sow seeds persistently, the harvest will come, even if it takes quite a bit of time. So just remember, what you plant today probably won't sprout tomorrow, but if you keep sowing the right seeds, the harvest is coming. At a house we used to live in, there were 2 hickory trees. One I had to cut down in order to build the house. Out of curiosity, I counted the rings, and I counted at least 75 rings on this hickory tree. Another almost identical hickory was standing just a short distance away. Every autumn, this tree dropped golf ball-sized hickory nuts on my metal roof for several weeks at random hours, day and night. While it was a little bit annoying, it does perfectly spell out this principle of bearing fruit and there being a harvest. While I didn't wait around for 75 years for this hickory tree to grow, that was how long it took for this harvest to be ready. And when it was, every year, there was an abundant harvest. It didn't take any of my personal attention, any of my effort, or even wanting to have hickory tree nuts bouncing off of my roof day and night for weeks. The harvest was there because that's how this physical world was set up. Now, I purchased that tree and the fruit that it bore instead of having to wait that long. In our own lives, we need to sow the seeds ourselves. That's why understanding the principles of sowing and reaping is so important. You can never go back in time to sow seeds you didn't before. Many people go through life not realizing or caring about the importance of the seeds that they sow. They either don't think that it's important, or they don't think that there will be a harvest one day. Realizing and embracing the principle of sowing and reaping in your life puts into proper perspective the importance of the thoughts and actions that you're sowing every day. Doing the right thing in a situation, sowing a seed of spiritual character growth, even when we could get away with something without a negative consequence. Even if making the right choice has a negative impact on us in the short term, we understand that sowing the right seeds is guaranteed to have a positive, good harvest in the end. So remember the importance of these principles. Sow good seed that you'll want the harvest of when the time comes. Listen to the New Life meditation every morning as one of those seeds. And tomorrow on day 5, we're going to go even deeper into the power of thoughts in your life. I'll see you there.